Hey, I'm live. How's everybody doing today? It's Psych Ups with Brian. So today it's a week before our event. So obviously you guys are all gearing up to send us some great leads. It's also Green Monday, if you care about such things, and it's National Christmas Tree Day. So today is the day to get your Christmas tree up. I should be really shooting in front of the Christmas tree, right? Because it's Christmas tree day. But I want you guys to be focusing right now on generating some leads. This is a time where a lot of people are kind of taking a step back and they are not aggressively calling. There's people are still trying to sell their houses. There's still a lot of houses on the market. And there's still a lot of motivated sellers, and yet so many people kind of take this month off. So you will be the one that's aggressively out there calling people, and this is the week to do it. So let's call them this week. Anybody you get a hold of this week, I want you to tell them that your partner from Phoenix area is going to be calling them Monday night, a week from tonight. So what's today? It's the what is the 18th? No, the whatever the date is today. And so a week from today on Monday, it's what, the 8th today? So the 15th. So it'd be the 15th, the night of the 15th around, if you're going by Eastern time, I would say probably between 7 and 8 Eastern time. If you're Pacific, that's like 4 to 5 Pacific time. So we want to call your leads. I just want to close you a deal. And if you get me and Lynette on the phone with your seller, that's going to be your best chance. Now, obviously, you're going to play a component in this. What is the most important thing that you can do when you talk to a seller in the opening call? There's two things that are really vital to figure out in that opening call. Okay, the first thing to figure out is build rapport. The first thing to do is build rapport. The second thing to do is figure out if they are open to monthly payments. So those are the really two big questions I have for any seller. Other than what's the purchase price, what's the condition, all that stuff kind of plays into it. What's their level of motivation? When are they looking to move? Is the house vacant? All those are pre-screening factors. But the two most important things I'm trying to figure out on that opening call, or I'm trying to get done, is I'm trying to make a connection with that seller so they remember me. So I'm not just some faceless name. I've taken a couple of minutes to build rapport. I've actually said, just so you know a little bit about me or us. And that's a crucial line, and everybody should have that in their script, and everybody should be saying that on every single phone call. Just so you know a little bit about us, and then, about 2 or 3 sentences about you and how you are going to be able to help them and how professional you are. You on this call, you have to make a good impression, and you have to come off professional and likable. Those are the two things: credible and likable. So write that down. That what are you looking for on every single call? To be taken as credible and likable. So if you come off as credible and likable on your calls, you're going to be successful. So how do you do that? You take the time to build rapport. That will make you credible and likable. What do they know about you on the phone? Nothing other than you're just some voice asking about their house. So they know zero. That you could be calling from another country. You could be calling from another state. You could be calling from down the street. They don't know a thing about you. So except for your caller ID, that is the one thing they know. So that's why I said, when we're calling them back a week from tonight or on Monday, that's why I want you to warn them that they're going to get a call from a 480 area code. And so watch for that and definitely pick up, because that's my partner calling you. And one of those things on credibility. Okay, so do you have a bio? And I don't talk about this often enough. Everybody should have a little 2 or 3 sentence long bio, your real estate bio or home investor bio, whatever you want to call it. I call it different things. And this is telling them who you are, and it's making you credible and likable. This is where you establish your credibility and likability. You can establish that to some degree just by the way you handle yourself. So you come off professional, like Lynette. Sometimes she doesn't always do the whole, because we're going through a lot of calls on that night. So we don't always do this line. Just so you know a little bit about us, because sometimes we kind of skip over that part and we just get right to the deal. Now, that is usually okay, because Lynette's really good at building rapport with people just through her cheerfulness and, just that voice, and she just comes off professional. So, but do I think it would be a good idea for all of you guys on every single call to say, just so you know a little bit about us, and then tell them a couple sentences about you? I've been involved in real estate for a long time. Even if you just say that, that's giving them something. But a lot of times it helps because they have to go tell a story to their wife or husband or whoever else they're talking to in their life of who you are. And they're saying, I'm thinking about selling my house to this person, or I'm going to sell my house to this person. Who is this person? Okay. And so what's your story? So now we always said, we had a pretty long one. We had a pretty long bio, and then we shaved it down. Okay. Thank you guys for putting those notes in the messaging. But, we shaved it down. It used to be pretty long, like, well, my wife and I used to be realtors. And then we actually, and then we did a lot of investing. And then we realized, and we were buying and selling houses. We were both managing offices. So Lynette used to sell new homes for Shea Homes. Now, Shea Homes is a pretty widely known builder in this area. And then I would tell them I used to run an office downtown, a mortgage office downtown for AmeriQuest Mortgage. Sometimes I'd say the name and sometimes I wouldn't. And then I'd say, but then back in 2003, we realized that we could help a lot more sellers by just buying their house ourselves directly for a great price. And so that's when we formed We Buy Houses LLC. And so and now we work with our family, we work with our sons, and we love helping out local families. Something like that. There's a long version and then there's a short version. My shortest version is me and my wife and my sons buy and sell houses all around the area. Now that should be in everybody's bio. It should be, we buy and sell houses all around the blank area. So wherever they live. So if they live in Philadelphia, we buy and sell houses all around the Philadelphia area. Or if they live in Detroit, we buy and sell houses all around the Detroit area, wherever they live. Okay. And even if it's their suburb, if they're in Phoenix area, but they live in the Gilbert suburb, I'll say we buy and sell houses all around the Gilbert area. So that should be the line in everybody's bio. And that kind of covers up for even if you have zero real estate experience. You can always say, so we buy and sell houses all around this area. And just by saying that, which is your goal, and that's what you're building a business to do, that's that sometimes is enough for them to say, okay, that's their goal. They buy and sell houses, whatever. But if you do have any kind of credibility, like I do sometimes tell people I ran a mortgage office and Lynette used to work for Shea. If I feel like I have enough time, if they're like rushing me off the phone and if they're in a big hurry, I'm not going to jam in some long bio. But if they're, if I can just at least squeeze in me and my wife and my sons buy and sell houses all around the area, what does that tell them? It tells them we're a family business. I like to get something in there about how long we've been doing it. And if you guys have been around real estate and doing real estate a long time, that's good. You could say I bought my first home over 20 years ago. I bought my first rental. I bought my first whatever. I bought my first property over 20 years ago. Now you could say that even if you've never bought an investment house, and that makes it sound like you're an investor. I bought my first property over 20 years ago, and I buy and sell houses all around the area. That would be perfect, even if you have zero real estate experience, but you've owned your own house, for a while. That would be a really good thing to say. I bought my first property over 10 years ago, and I buy and sell houses all around the area. Now, if you have something likable, like if you're also a nurse or a chiropractor, or you have a nice healing profession or credible, I'm an engineer, I'm a software engineer, something like that, that's always good to mention because that gives you credibility in another way. So this person has credibility as a business person, and they also do real estate. Boy, they're clever, and so there's a lot of people that do, that have a regular career and buy real estate. There's a lot of people like that. And so that is your profile. So that's what you want to get across to them is that you're a professional. And now if you're a full-time real estate investor, obviously you don't tell about some other job. You don't have another job. But anything you can say to make you seem more likable, like if you have a family, we love raising our family. We love this area. We've raised our kids here. Now they're all going to high school over at Highland or whatever it is. That kind of thing really can make that connection. So when you are calling your leads for FSBOs, see if you can make that rapport building, because then when we get to them and we're your partners, they are already ready. They are already in the mindset that I think I could sell my house to these people. And so that's why that rapport building phase is so important. The only other question is, are they open to monthly payments? Don't ever say anything on that opening call, and really never even on the closing call unless they start asking specific questions and bringing up this terminology. Never say words like subject to, seller financing, anything like that. The only thing we ever say to sellers is monthly payments. Could you take monthly payments? Okay, so that's what we want. That's the goal. So call the FSBOs, build some rapport, write your bio out. Don't bore them with your bio, but if they're engaged, and sometimes they want to hear everything they can about you. Sometimes if they're really trying to make a buying decision, they would like more ammunition. They would like to know more about you. So, sometimes you get in a conversation and it goes a while. You'll start talking for 5 minutes. Oh, I went to the same college as you did. Oh, really? Oh, and I grew up over here and all that. So that's great. If you can get to that stage where it's going back and forth and you're not just telling them stuff about you and they start to engage, that's the rapport building. So the bio is really just opening the door for a little bit more rapport building. So don't just say the bio and then automatically go to the next thing, even though the script is kind of written that way. But I want you to leave some room there to have interaction. Okay, so a lot of good comments today. Yay! Hello, Serene Night Skylands. Good morning, Brenza and Brian. Awesome. Calling. Yes, 12:15. Good. Thank you. Yes, that is the time when you tell anyone you talk to this week and you say, my partner's calling you back. Oh, speaking of credibility. So when you're telling them your rapport, you're building your rapport and telling them your bio, you can say on this call, because we're going to be following up with them, my partner in Arizona, they actually have bought over 800 houses and they've been doing this over 20 years. Actually, it's been 25 years or so over 25 years. But you could say that will give them, if you have zero credibility and you want to hit them over the head with a lot of credibility, you can always tell them that. And obviously that will be obvious when we call. Okay. Good morning, Roger. Great to see you. I texted a lead. Yeah, I think I just saw that, Roger. So let me follow up with you on that. Okay, rapport open to time. Yes, and open to taking. The two things you want to establish is you build rapport with people so they like you, and because remember that likability is really the beginning of trust, and they have to trust you if they're going to sign a contract with you and proceed forward. There has to be some level of trust there, and that you build that during the rapport building phase. Hey, Jennifer, awesome to see you here. Credible and likable is what we're always going for. That's right. 480 area code. Tell that this is what you're telling your people again next week. Monday night, we're going to call a week from tonight on the 15th, and it's going to be a 480. Please pick up. My partner, hey, the real Kale. All right, that's the real Caleb. I mean, good morning, Caleb. That's a little different login. So Caleb, good to see you. And Tony, happy Monday. All of our favorites are here today. We're now certified Ohio professional housing providers as of last week. Well, that's very interesting. That's very cool. What is that designation, Tony? How do you go about getting that? And what does that do for you? It's good. Guys, if you can get professional designations like that in your state, city, or municipality, that's always great. It makes you more credible. Good morning, Charles. There you are. Okay, so thank you guys. Thank you, everybody. We'll go through. It's a little bit hard. If you turn in a whole bunch, we will go through and kind of pre-screen them before and tell you the ones we're planning on calling. If you want to know, if you want to call them in advance, is that what you're saying, Jennifer? So if you turn in like 10 leads, there's a pretty good chance we're going to try to call them all. Pretty much, I mean, we're trying to call them all. So it's pretty rare where we'll get a lead turned in and we'll say, no, we're not calling that one. If you got anything that's got any life and you've talked to them, we're going to try to call them on Monday night. We don't ever have enough leads to call. So guys, you don't have to necessarily call each one back and say, now they're definitely going to call you. Like thinking you turned in 10 leads and we're only going to focus on these 3. No, if there's information, I mean, if it's actually somebody you talk to and it's filled out, we're absolutely going to call them. Now, if you turn in some lead where you didn't even call them and it's obvious and you just took a Zillow lead and filled it out on a FSBO opening calls sheet, then, and there's no notes or anything, then that lead, may look like it's not even been called and it might not get called by us. But anything that you physically called and have notes on, I can almost guarantee that we will absolutely be calling them on Monday night, a week from tonight. Okay, trying to get a hold of them. And our challenge is they don't pick up. We'll probably make 50 calls that night, and maybe 8 will pick up or something like that. So that's the challenge. Or we'll make 20 calls and 5 will pick up. So that's the challenge, is getting them to pick up, and that's why hopefully you guys have we'll have them picking up. All right, awesome. So hopefully that answers you guys' questions on that. And then people do business with people that they build trust. Yes. Rapport with. Yes, rapport leads to trust. I always say if you can do video chats too, I'm a big believer in that, because I think eye contact really leads to building more rapport, which leads to more trust. Okay, yes. And you can say your partner's been in the business over 20 years, done over 800 house deals. Yes, congratulations. Okay. Yep, on Monday the 15th, a week from tonight. Yes, I would love it if we can call some of your leads and get some good deals. Ohio Real Estate Investors Association based on education credits. Okay, well that's a good thing. Now sometimes there'll be clubs, and guys, everybody should be in their local clubs because they lead to a lot of leads. If you are in your local clubs, you should be talking and building relationships with flippers and wholesalers, and asking them what they're doing with their turn downs. What are they doing with all the people who want too much money or their house is in too good condition? Okay, that's our leads. That's our seller financing leads, and if you get them to start sending you some turn downs, that can be a really good deal, because they're just throwing those leads away and you could be turning them into great deals potentially. So yeah, and so Tony, obviously Tony's probably already taken advantage of that, but yes, I want you to be in clubs. And also, if clubs have some kind of local designation like that, it's just made up stuff, but they can put a name on it and make a certificate out of it. And, all of a sudden you're certified in the state of Ohio. Okay. So again, that stuff's good. I believe in that stuff, and it helps, with your credibility when you can say stuff like that. That would be part of your bio. So if people are letting you tell your whole long bio, you could say, we're also, designated whatever you are, official investors or whatever your designation was there. Yeah, well, thank you, Caleb. I just like to try to remind you guys of stuff you probably already know, but sometimes you don't always remember every aspect, and sometimes I can remind you of key things that are helpful. Thank you. And yes, your local RIA clubs, real estate investing associations. And don't forget, if you want to invest in another city, like we're in 5 different states. We're in Detroit, we're in Kentucky, Indiana, Minnesota, and Arizona, obviously. So if you want to start developing another farm area in an area, and I'm telling you, the hot area to buy a lot of properties is 50 to 150. If you can find a nice market in Ohio where you can buy houses from 50 to 150, you're going to be able to do a lot faster than some market where everything is 350 to 550. You can just do a lot more in that cheaper market. And guess what? You're just looking for $500 a month cash flow per property, and they're easier to get on a $50,000 house than it is on a $500,000 house. So that's the crazy thing, is that those, if you are not currently working a market where you can buy houses from 50 to 150, you should consider it. And you can join clubs in that area remotely and go on their meetings virtually. So just remember that too. Okay. All right. So 1 week, get your qualified leads to me. Thank you. Jennifer's wrapping us up. She knows we got to go. All right, guys. So I love calling sellers. Okay, so again, you're calling sellers. I love calling sellers 3 times on 3. And this is what you say right before you pick up the phone. Affirmations trigger the right role. What is the right role? I don't, you decide what you want to name it, but I call myself master caller. That's my role. When I get ready to make my phone calls, I go into my master caller role, and all I have to do is say the name of the role, and I get all master caller. So you think of a name for your phone role. What's your role as an investor on the phone? Okay, and closing call expert or whatever it is. And Lynette always says, I love making closing calls. And think of 3 or 4 affirmations that trigger that role of master caller or closing call expert, and make sure you got them lined up and ready to say before you get on the phone, and say a couple of those affirmations. Also, when you do an affirmation, do a trigger gesture. So there's always a gesture, pump your fists or rub your hands together, clap your hands, or whatever it is. Put a gesture with that affirmation, makes it stronger. Okay, so I love talking to sellers. That'll be our affirmation. Ready? 3 times on 3. I always do my fist up, so you guys do what you want. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I love talking to sellers. I love talking to sellers. I love talking to sellers. And I always smile too. So make sure you're always smiling when you're saying your affirmations. Okay. Deep breath in. We always do 3 deep inhales. Another one. Get you going in the morning. And one more. Thank you. And thanks for all the sympathy, guys, for when I was sick last week. I'm all better now. So that's awesome. And let's all have a wonderful holiday season, and let's get some good stuff done this week. Remember, there's a lot of people taking this time off, but you're going to be a go-getter. All right. So until I see you on Friday, what are we going to do? We're going to keep getting awesome training from the Wolf Couple, expecting success and taking action.